School can be the worst. I've got my eyes locked on high school and college specifically. Think about it. You do all this learning to get a little sheet of paper or to get a silly little cap and gown, and you don't get anything for it. Maybe you get some friendships, maybe you get a job, but in general, you're not enjoying learning. You're taught in order to cram. You're taught to cram a bunch of information, then you never use it again. You are taught stuff that isn't very useful. You have to take a bunch of prerequisites in order to do something in college. You have to take a bunch of extra stuff. If you're smart in high school, you just have to take a bunch of stuff that's never going to be useful. And your brain is mostly formed. And you're doing all this stuff and it's not very helpful. And then on top of it, it's boring. You've got teachers that are just doing it to do it for a job. You've got that one teacher that's excited about it and passionate about it, but then the subject matter itself is just boring. And then on top of all that, how to learn is not being emphasized. You're taught the stuff, you're taught information, you're taught research in order to type a research purpose, a research paper, but you're not doing it in order to discover anything. And studying is just the worst. But the good news is studying is not the same as learning. You see, you have to study how to live life, and then you should always be learning. It's good for us. I think about studying as what you would do in elementary school and maybe a little bit of middle school, a little bit of high school. It can be in college, but you're studying how to live, how to learn, how to enjoy life. You're studying how to live life. A baby has to be trained in order to know how to eat and know how to behave and know things. Like, there is a reason you should study. You should study how the world works and how humans work. And then you should just never stop learning. But studying and learning are a little bit different. I think studying is a book, and it's sometimes boring, and it's something you have to do, and learning is something you get to do and you just enjoy through life. And I've met so many people who are just done and just sick of learning. They're like, I've never read anything since school. Now that I don't have to read, I'm definitely not going to. Or I do all my learning from YouTube videos or something. And there's some great perspectives out there. But in general, I've just seen so many people who are just fed up and sick of learning after school, and they think all learning is bad because school just ruined them. Our school system has completely and utterly failed you. And yet, there's a little bit of hope, because learning is something you can do at any point, at any time, and we're in a day and age where you can learn pretty much anything. And so I want to share a couple ways that I think you can enjoy learning again. You may not love it. It may be a little bit of a chore, but I think you'll get enough benefit out of it to where it's worth it. And you wouldn't even try if you're still ruined by school and you hadn't heard that there's another way to learn. So let's just say you're starting and you're burned out. You don't want to see another book again. You don't want to read another page. You don't want to write another discussion board. You are burned out. You just want to scroll and sit outside and do nothing that resembles studying or school whatsoever. Well, the good news is the choice is not between learning and not learning. You see, if that were the choice, then it would be a little bit different. The choice that you have to make is between learning and distractions. You're not choosing between just not learning. If nobody wants to just not learn, you're choosing between learning and distractions. And there's a lot of distractions that are fighting for your attention. There's a lot of things that we call learning. I think of the people who are like, oh, I'm learning by watching TikTok and watching YouTube all the time. And you can learn on YouTube. I don't want to trounce it. But the good experiential learning and learning by taking notes and learning by diving into a topic is something that involves a little bit of application. You can't just learn everything from a classroom and from a lecture and from somebody talking to a camera. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way to start, but it's not all of learning. True learning takes place outside of just a lecture. And that's another way that the school system has failed us. You see, learning should be a little bit applicable to what you're doing, or at least something you're interested in. It shouldn't just be some knowledge stored in your head that has no use. And so in order to start, you got to decide that you're going to learn. And you got to decide that it's going to be part of your life. You can't learn everything at once. It should be a lifelong thing. Teddy Roosevelt died with a book under his pillow. He was just a lifelong learner. He was growing every bit, every day, and had a pretty cool life to prove it. And you can't do it out of guilt. If you're doing it because you just know you got to learn, you got to go to learn something, you're not going to enjoy it. That's what school was. You already did that for however many years. If you want to enjoy learning, you've got to actually enjoy it. And so, number one, don't overdo it. Don't try and go learn calculus or learn a whole new language or become an expert in video cameras or clocks or whatever thing. Just find something that you're interested in and learn a little bit about it and just see if it's interesting. And if it's interesting, keep learning. And if it's not, then find something else to learn about. I made a video about how to enjoy reading if you've never enjoyed reading in your life. And the essence of it is find a person in an industry. For example, say you love entrepreneurs. Find a book on Elon Musk and read it. And If you don't like it, then find something else that's maybe a little bit more interesting. But find something that you're interested in, read a biography or read a little bit of a deep dive or some interesting take on it, and just enjoy reading. And you're going to learn something in a more deep dive form than just an article or a quick YouTube video. And it might actually apply to your life, and you're going to pick up on something that you didn't know. And that's a little bit of learning. Another one is take a look at some documentaries, because you can look at one perspective on TikTok in a 15-second video, or you can watch a 3-minute explainer video on YouTube, or maybe you're watching a 20-minute video on something. But if you actually sit down and watch a documentary and you don't skip through anything, you just sit there and you watch it, you're going to learn something that's going to apply to your life. And it's just going to be interesting. And it's a little bit different because it's forcing your brain to learn at the same time that you're actually learning interesting facts. Then, ultimately, experience is the best. If you want to learn snowboarding, you don't watch a bunch of tutorials and just watch a bunch of tutorials and watch a bunch of tutorials and watch a bunch of tutorials. You have to actually go try and snowboard. Now, tutorials can be helpful. It's a good starting point. But if you want to learn, go do something. Go pick up a camera and figure out how to film something. Go write a book. Go do something, and you're gonna learn. And that's a chance to be a lifelong learner. And then, one of my favorite things, the best part about lifelong learning, is you can enjoy not doing a deep dive. There's this arc, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like a beginner high and the deep depths of despair when you learn a new topic and learn how much you have to learn, and then the slow, gradual growth of lifelong learning of that one topic. The best news is, if you're a lifelong learner, you don't have to learn just one topic. You can just do the beginner high of snowboarding, and then the beginner high of cameras, and then the beginner high of shoes, and then the beginner high of entrepreneurship. You can just enjoy the beginner high of a bunch of different subjects that fascinate you, and you don't have to do any of the deep fall off where you learn that you have a whole lot more to learn. You can just learn about a bunch of different things. Now, you probably should be a master of something, whatever your career is or whatever your favorite hobby is, maybe become a master at that. But just learn different perspectives and just learn and trips and museums and whatever. There's a bunch of different ways to learn, but if you do it through experience, you're gonna learn a whole lot more. And then the best news, you don't have to write a discussion board or a research paper or anything. You just learned it because you enjoyed learning. So go start, go find something, get off of YouTube and go learn something. Except money, it does have a use for savings. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's a lot like you're just wasting money. You're saving up all this money and then never doing anything with it. And the thought of that, I don't like that. And I do think of the few times where I have actually looked at my notes. There was one training I did in 2022, and I'd written in a paper notebook, but there was like the schedule and the conference stuff all in that notebook, or in the little pamphlet they gave me. And so I was like, I'm gonna transfer this so I can throw it away, and I'm gonna transfer it into my notes app so I can look at it. And there were several nuggets in there. It was more seminar type information. It wasn't necessarily me giving my thoughts on it. But there were some really good nuggets in there that I still remember to this day. My definition of culture comes from those notes. The way I view certain ways of asking questions when people are challenging me on a subject. I go back to those notes because I remember them and I've actually reviewed them, and that has stuck with me in a way that a lot of other things I've listened to actually haven't. I also think of my sermon notes. If you've seen my room tour, you might have seen my sermon notes over in this corner. And I don't keep all of them, just the ones that are really impactful, but I'll tape it to the wall, and when I'm flossing or when I'm getting ready for bed or brushing my teeth or whatever, I'll just see them. And sometimes I'll look at one or look at another. It's not like I'm reviewing them completely, but it has reminded me of the power of something I've heard a year ago or a year and a half ago, or even just a week ago that I might have completely forgotten. And the times that I go back and look at my notes, pretty cool. The times I've even gone back and looked at notes from a week ago, I'm like, wow, I totally forgot I had that idea or that brainstorm or that thing. And it's really neat how many of these I might have missed if I didn't go back and look at them. And yet I still don't do it enough. I even think about journaling. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but when you go through patterns and you see different ways of doing it, it's interesting seeing the facts, because the facts can help interpret the feeling. And when you write a certain feeling, they can help interpret the fact. You could just write, I went and did this on Christmas Day 2025. But if you put the feeling behind it, if I was bored and so I did this and then had this insight, you're going to notice a pattern that's going to help you later on. So those are a bunch of my thoughts. I don't have anything revelational. Like I said, this is all inspired by another guy's book, but it was something that just made me think, why in the world do I not actually look at the notes that I write? So if you're not a note taker, I challenge you to start taking notes. If you are a note taker, just go and look at your notes. Who knows what you're going to learn?